Rio Tinto is in talks to spend up to $9 billion on a major lithium miner. The share market closes at a near record high, and the auction clearance rate falls to its lowest level in almost 2 years. Welcome to Fear and Greed Daily Business News. For people who make their own decisions, it is Tuesday, the 8th of October 2024. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael. I tell you what, half the country had the day off yesterday, but it didn't seem that way. So much going on in the world of business.
There is so much to cover this morning, and the main story this morning is a big one, isn't it? And it's kind of exciting stuff. Rio Tinto confirming that it's in talks to acquire Arcadium Lithium for between $4 and $6 billion US.
It's about time we had a decent takeover to talk about. Don't you reckon? You
are right, because it feels like there hasn't actually been, well, we're talking about yesterday, the fact there hasn't been much in the way of IPOs and big deals and stuff to chat about for quite a while.
And even the ones that we had, BHP making a bid for Anglo American, got knocked back. Not much to see there. Bit disappointing. No. Anyway, Rio's bid is worth between 6 and 9 billion Aussie dollars for the dual-listed miner, which trades on Wall Street and locally. Undoubtedly, it is opportunistic. Lithium prices have tumbled and Arcadium's share price is down more than 60% in 2024. Already, shareholders are calling for a higher offer. Rio started talks in London to acquire Arcadium, with an offer expected, and I quote Rio, in the near future. We might be able to talk about put up and shut up rules as well, Michael. That'd be exciting because, London-based.
That is I learn a lot in this podcast. But that is one of the things that has really, really stayed with me. And that was all because we were talking about BHP and Anglo American and all of that. And the put up and shut up laws they're on the wall of the studio now because it is just the best name for a set of laws.
Basically, you've only got about a month if you're making your bid. Otherwise, it lapses. Anyway, Rio's comment about a bid in the near future sent Arcadium's share price up 46% yesterday, which it puts it back to where it was in June. Mind you, it is still way below where it started the year. Rio likes lithium, and Arcadium's Argentinian assets are near Rio's lithium mine in that country. Arcadium was created last year through the merger of Allkem and Livent and has assets across Argentina, the US, China, Japan, Canada, and Australia. It is a big lithium player. It's expected to supply about 5% of the globe's supply next year.
Sean, you mentioned that it's an opportunistic bid, and that's kind of the key here, isn't it? Because lithium prices, as you say, have tumbled. Will it actually get over the line?
Well, I don't know, but when you're a big miner like Rio needing future growth, particularly outside iron ore and preferably in the critical mineral sector, then downtrodden lithium miners are pretty attractive. While analysts don't expect lithium prices to surge anytime soon, it could be years before the too much supply and not enough demand issue is sorted out, there is confidence that ultimately it will be sorted, possibly later this decade. So buying at these prices makes sense. Most big miners want copper. That was a big play in BHP's unsuccessful bid for Anglo American, but that's very expensive. With shareholders already coming out saying they want more money for Arcadium, it seems that that company is definitely in play. And for Rio to be successful, it probably will need to pay more. But certainly this is a bid with real legs.
Indeed. And it's a great story to talk about. It is something just exciting, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It's got a lot of components to it. Local markets. Sean, let's take a look. What happened yesterday?
Well, it was a strong day in the markets, notwithstanding New South Wales, the ACT, South Australia and Queensland were closed. The S&P ASX 200 finished up 0.7% to 8,205 points, just 7 points from the record close set last month. Trading was thin, and the banks were the big winners. National Australia Bank and Westpac both rose 2%. Commonwealth Bank was up 1.5%. Big day for the lithium miners, no surprises there. The announcement dragged other stocks higher, including Liontown Resources, which jumped 18%, while Sayona Mining and Core Lithium both did well. Fortescue Metals Group was another strong performer. Worst on the day was West African Resources, down 18%, despite affirming guidance and reiterating that the Burkina Faso government was supportive of its gold mining operations and that it was not aware of any plans to withdraw permits. Just the fact that a company comes out and says, I'm very confident that the government we're working with, Burkina Faso, is supportive of our operations isn't a good look.
Why do you need to reassure people that this is
Exactly.
the case? Suddenly just puts that doubt into people's minds, doesn't it? Sean, coming up after the show, and this is really not relevant to gold mining operations or international permits or anything, you have an interview coming up today with Simon Kusenmacher from the Demographics Group.
Yes, it is fascinating. Anytime you talk to Simon, you get great insights about what's going on in the world, particularly among the population. Where we focus today is this growing cohort of people, mostly male, between about 15, 16, 17 and mid-20s. I'm trying to think of the term. He called them NEETs, I think. No education, no employment, no training. So it's kind of people who aren't in a job, who aren't learning a skill and aren't at university. What that means for the economy is quite remarkable, right from economic growth through to marriage proposals and prospects of these people getting married and stuff like that. It is really fascinating.
Yeah, it is a great conversation. So it is well worth sticking around for that. It's coming up after the show. What's happening in international markets, Sean?
Oh, iron ore's back in favour. Couldn't keep it down. The mineral is trading back above $110 a tonne. On speculation, Beijing will make further announcements to stimulate the Chinese economy. Now, there is a briefing scheduled for today. Beijing announced a bunch of measures, including interest rate cuts and targeted support for the property sector over a week ago, late last month it was. Now, China, Michael, if you were unaware, they've had a week-long public holiday that started last Tuesday, finished yesterday. That means there was no official announcements. I know, look, you're getting very excited about the whole prospect of a week-long public holiday.
Goodness me, what does that do for general output, for productivity, for everything? Goodness me.
Get a lot of sleep.
Yeah. It's great. It's a great bit of downtime. I guarantee you, even if we had a week-long public holiday, you would still make me turn up to the studio every single day during that time.
Now, do you know what the holiday is, though?
No.
Golden Week. It's called Golden Week.
Oh, I think we talked about this last year.
Yeah. It kind of begins this. It's the Mid-Autumn Festival. It's kind of up to 8 days long. And about half of those you get paid leave. I mean, this is pretty good stuff. It was started by the Chinese government in 1999, and the idea was to help expand domestic tourism, so get people moving around the country and hopefully give the country itself a boost, which I thought, we did talk about last year. It's fascinating.
That's why we were talking about it. We're talking about it because there was a lot of people moving around the country at the time. It might have even been the previous year as well, because it was to do with all of the COVID lockdowns and the fact that it was the first big test as China started to lift a lot of their restrictions with people moving around the country. It was a big test for how much the country was going to be able to get back to normal. Anyway.
I'll keep an eye out. Because I don't know how many people moved around, but we're talking hundreds of millions of people taking holidays in China. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's an entirely different scale to anything we talk about here.
Totally. Just before we leave international markets, gold's steady around $26.50 an ounce, and the Aussie dollar's buying around 68 US cents.
Excellent. Sean, we'll be back in a moment with the rest of the day's business news. Sean, house sales are falling fast with successful auctions now at a near 2-year low.
The combined preliminary auction clearance rate last week came in at 63.9% across capital cities, the lowest level since December 2022. There were 1,900 auctions held. The lower numbers last week can in part be attributed to the Labor Day long weekend in New South Wales, ACT and South Australia. Queensland also had yesterday off. That was actually the King's birthday long weekend, not the Labor Day weekend for Queenslanders. A low preliminary clearance rate in Sydney was the main drag, 62.7%, down from 66.1% the previous week, 64.4% in Melbourne. That was better than the previous week. Of course, the previous week was grand final week in Melbourne. Across the smaller capitals, Brisbane came in at 61%. Adelaide was 70%, Canberra just under 52%. Things get back to normal this week, post-long weekend and football finals. About 2,600 houses going up for auction. So we'll get a pretty good idea this time next week about just how much of a slowdown there's been in the housing market.
Now, Sean, the Australian government has evacuated 904 Australians and immediate family members from Lebanon over the past week, and Qantas says it flew a jet to Cyprus yesterday to transport people home.
Yes, so Australian government-assisted flights have been evacuating citizens, permanent residents and immediate family members to Cyprus from Lebanon as the war intensifies. Yesterday's Qantas flight is expected to return back to Sydney Airport, and Qantas has pledged to fly those passengers to their nearest home domestic airport at no cost. Good on Qantas. In addition to the flight and cabin crew, there will be a dedicated team on board to support the special assistance flight. Meanwhile, Hezbollah has praised pro-Palestinian and pro-Hezbollah protests in Australia over the weekend, posting pictures from the rallies on its Telegram channel with a caption, "From Australia to the world, stop the Israeli aggression on Lebanon." There are also peaceful vigils yesterday in Sydney and Melbourne from both Lebanese supporters and Israeli supporters.
Rebel Senator Fatima Payman should hand back her seat to Labor and contest the next election along with the other candidates from her new party, according to Prime Minister Anthony Albanese.
The Western Australian Senator plans to announce her new party this week, and the PM said she should use it as an opportunity to test her own popularity as well and contest the next election under her new banner. Now, Senator Payman was elected as a Labor senator in 2022 for a 6-year term. She defected to the crossbench in July this year, citing her disappointment with Labor's stance towards the Arab-Israeli conflict. Because she's in the middle of her term, Senator Payman personally won't face the voters at the next election, due by May next year. Now, yesterday, Senator Payman said by creating a new party, she's allowing the population to pass judgment on her. Also, Senator Payman yesterday released a statement to mark the first anniversary of the terror attacks against Israel, in which 1,200 people were killed. She was overtly critical of Israel. She said, and I quote, "Nothing justifies the killing of civilians. Nothing justifies the slaughter of 20,000 children. Nothing justifies apartheid. Nothing justifies occupation."
Now, Sean, a little bit of economics here for you. Australia's trade balance, which has been in surplus almost continually since 2017, is heading lower, with both exports and imports down over the month of August.
The goods trade surplus was $5.6 billion for the month. It's been in that sort of $5 billion range for the past few months, but it's about half what it was at the start of the year. The sliding surplus reflects lower commodity prices, particularly iron ore prices. Iron ore still accounts for about 20% of all exports, and 80% of those go to China. A trade surplus means we're selling more stuff overseas and buying it from offshore, so it's a positive for economic growth. However, recent signs of a slowdown in global manufacturing firms, particularly in China, and falling international student visa approvals doesn't augur that well for coming quarters.
Sean, I know we're 24 hours out from the Fear and Greed weekly newsletter, which comes out on Wednesday morning, tomorrow morning. Any kind of hints as to what you are going to give us your unadulterated thoughts on?
Well, I am going to talk about the housing market.
Oh, yes.
What's happening there in terms of price rises and stuff like that.
Okay. You're not going to get stuck into Australia's trade balance?
Probably not. I mean, it's exciting. There's no doubt about it.
I know.
Gosh.
To what extent do we want to entice people to subscribe to the newsletter? Look, you know what? Maybe we'll make that an ironclad commitment. There will be no discussion.
Nothing on trade balance.
Okay, all right.
I promise.
Head along to fearandgreed.com.au and sign up for the free weekly newsletter. There's been a surge in people joining up in the last week, Sean, ever since we both posted a couple of videos on social media, on LinkedIn and everything, featuring each of us walking along, talking about the newsletter.
Almost falling over.
Yeah, that's right. Heading downstairs, all that kind of thing. Goodness me, putting our bodies on the line for Fear and Greed. So sign up for the newsletter and make all of that worth it. Sean, financial advice not only provides investors with guidance on money matters, it also helps improve the quality of life for many people and increases their financial confidence and satisfaction.
That's according to a Financial Advice Association Australia survey, which also says that an advisor helps people feel more confident when managing health issues. Now, we're big fans of financial advisors on this show, absolutely. Though the survey is very, very positive about financial advisors, including
Where did it come from again, Sean?
Yeah, the Financial Advice Association Australia. Across the board, all age groups with advisors experienced an increased value in quality of life, confidence and financial satisfaction over the last year. For those without an advisor, quality of life decreased slightly. The survey says that 91% of clients earning $120,000 or less who had financial advisors felt financially secure, higher than those who didn't have an advisor. For advised clients, trust and satisfaction in their advisor had increased, with 2/3 of clients reporting their perceptions of the value received from their advisor had improved. Overall, the survey suggests that financial advice protects finances, delivers peace of mind, and supports decision-making. I would love one of these surveys from a peak body to say, no, doesn't work.
We've done a bit of research and you know what? It's not really necessary.
Irrelevant.
You don't need financial advice. Goodness me. And a lot of that really is common sense.
It is. I mean, I'm sure if you have a financial advisor, it does give you peace of mind because you know at least someone is looking after my money.
Yeah. It gives you a little bit of control back and a little bit of kind of just a sense that kind of time is not getting away from you and the opportunity is not getting away from you. Can you tell that I've talked to a financial advisor in the last couple of weeks?
Clearly.
Sean? And suddenly the optimism and the enthusiasm is back. So I 100% agree with this survey. Now, Regal Partners' bid for Platinum Asset Management is well and truly alive, even though it's been knocked back, with Platinum allowing Regal Partners access to its books.
Platinum wants a higher price and has granted Regal access to do due diligence in the hopes of achieving a better offer. The two asset managers confirmed they had entered an initial period of non-exclusive mutual due diligence, with Platinum saying the process could allow Regal to improve the value in terms of its proposal and allow Platinum to assess the absolute and relative value of Regal share consideration and the costs and benefits of any combination. Lots of words there. What I'm trying to say is they're talking to each other. Billionaire Platinum founder and major shareholder Kern Nelson has yet to comment on Regal's offer. A bit of a kingmaker in this one. There's no pun there because, of course, the person who is in charge of Regal Partners is Philip King. Anyway, I digress. The board, basically, the Platinum board has said it's open to offers, including from third parties.
That's such a niche pun you were making there.
I know. It wasn't very good.
Such a specific audience that is going to understand that one. Speaking of billionaires, how about this one? Atlassian co-founder Scott Farquhar and his wife Kim Jackson have sold their unused Point Piper waterfront mansion Elaine for about $130 million.
Yeah, so it's the top deal of 2024, and at that price is either equal to or slightly above the current national house price record, according to the Fin Review. The exact price is undisclosed, but the Fin's reporting sources saying the property exchanged for about the same amount that the couple paid for another property close by. That's where they're living. The Farquhar Jacksons paid $71 million for the 1863 built Elaine in April 2017. They haven't lived in it. It's now a dilapidated residence. So you pay $71 million and you don't move in. Australia's overall residential record sits at $140 million paid for a combined penthouse and sub-penthouse atop Lendlease's One Sydney Harbour at Baringaroo, purchased off the plan in 2019. That one, no one's living there. It's still yet to settle.
So they made about $60 million out of this over that time.
Yeah, 7 years, $60 million.
It's not a bad little investment, was it?
Yeah.
Selling the weekender that you haven't even lived in.
Pretty amazing.
That rundown old shack. Turning to international news now, Sean. Donald Trump's economic plans are forecast to raise the federal debt by roughly double the increase expected if Kamala Harris is elected.
That's according to new analysis from the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, a nonpartisan group in Washington, and reported in the Financial Times. Through 2035, the federal debt is projected to swell by $7.5 trillion if the former president wins the White House and follows through with his pledge to lower taxes for individuals and businesses, apply heavy tariffs on imported goods, and deport millions of immigrants, amongst other proposals. Vice President Kamala Harris's platform features expanded tax credits for small businesses, improved access to affordable childcare and housing, but higher corporate taxes. It's estimated to increase the debt by about $3.5 trillion over the same period. Polls indicate a tight race between the two. We're 4 weeks away, 4 weeks today, till the election day. They've both made the economy a focal point of their campaigns.
And finally, Sean, the death toll in the US from Hurricane Helene has risen to more than 225, with many more unaccounted for, as communities across 6 states reel from its effects, including several 100,000 homes left without power and short of clean water.
Washington has deployed soldiers and military helicopters to help emergency workers reach people stranded in remote towns. Flooding destroyed highways and torrential rain unleashed mudslides on homes all over the place. The toll was highest in North Carolina, where almost 100 fatalities were estimated, followed by South Carolina. The southern states of Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, and Virginia were also badly affected. Now, scientists have found that warming sea temperatures are linked to more intense hurricanes, according to the FT. A preliminary study from the Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory in California found that climate change may have boosted the amount of rainfall over parts of Georgia and North Carolina by as much as 50%. As a hurricane dumped moisture collected over the Gulf of Mexico, where record temperatures have been reached.
Okay, up next, Sean, is the Fear and Greed Daily interview with demographer Simon Kustenmacher from the Demographics Group.
All about what's happening in society, but particularly this cohort of young men in particular from 15, 16, 17 to about their mid-20s, and how their lifestyles have changed and how that's impacting everything from the marriage market to the economy.
Yeah, it is a great chat. It is coming up next in the Fear and Greed playlist on your podcast platform or at fearandgreed.com.au, and keep an eye on your playlist at around about midday today when the new episode of Ask Fear and Greed is released. That's where we answer listener questions. They can be on the economy, they can be on business, they can be on relationships, really. They could be on pretty much anything, and we'll have a crack at answering it. And today's question is a good one, but you'll have to come back at midday to hear all about it. Thank you very much, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It is Tuesday, the 8th of October, 2024. Make sure you're following the podcast and please join us online on LinkedIn, Instagram, X, TikTok and Facebook. I'm Michael Thompson and that was Fear and Greed. Have a great day.